As many of you will be aware, we put together a review into the Kangaroos setup, which assessed a number of things, including the merits of a full-time coach versus a part-time coach, as well as a number of other aspects about our high-performance programs. There was a strong belief following that review, which was endorsed by the Australian Rugby League Commission, that the Kangaroos coach should be a dedicated role with significant responsibility and duties which go way beyond the normal scope of a coach, but the role was certainly not a full-time role, which certainly brings us to today. We were looking for a successful coach, one who'd not only command the respect of the best players in this country, but who'd also command the respect of the whole game. All of its stakeholders, from fans to players across the country who are still only dreaming of one day becoming a Kangaroos player. We were looking for an ambassador, someone whose reputation as a player and a coach is second to none. Someone who saw this role as a privilege and something to aspire to. In Mal Meninga, we have found that figure within the game. We have a coach who steered Queensland to no less than 9 State of Origin Series victories, but who also sees this role as the pinnacle that it should be. We want players to aspire to play for the Kangaroos as much as our new coach aspires to coach them. Ultimately, we want to win the 2017 Rugby League World Cup and restore the Kangaroos' place on top of the international rankings. And with Mal Meninga, we believe we have the man to make that happen. There are a couple of people I'd like to thank. Firstly, to both Peter Betros and Rob Moore and others at the Queensland Rugby League who have supported this process. And also to Dennis Hanlon and the team at Sony who have facilitated the appointment and handled these discussions with great respect and professionalism. But I'd particularly like to thank Mal, who we are obviously incredibly excited about appointing today. I'd like to thank Mal not simply for accepting this job, but for genuinely wanting it. We're both happy to take some questions.
It was difficult, obviously. Built up some fantastic relationships with the players and the staff in the Queensland Rugby League. It's been a fantastic time for Queensland Rugby League, a highly successful year this year in 2015 for Queensland in general, Queensland Rugby League. But I felt this is time. I was privileged and honoured that Todd and the Commission saw me as the natural replacement in the Australian job. And it's been a process, but at the end of the day, Todd and John Grant and Dennis and the Sony team, come to fantastic resolution, and I'm happy to be the Australian coach. It was probably last week, back end of last week, just going through the final negotiations. We sort of made up our mind, and it's a huge decision. But, for me, it sort of rounded off my footy career, I guess, in respects where, played and coached and at the top level. So, now the top level. So, for me, it's a aspiring thing and something I've always wanted to do. I don't think it's a comfort zone. You talk about Origin. It's a difficult contest, and each game, it's on its own merit. So it's been a tough gig, but like I said, I've been with part of a great team. The players have bought into it, and it's a great concept. The Queensland Rugby League have been fantastic and given me all the resources to be successful. So for me, I think I can transfer those skills that I've had at Origin level to the national position. Yeah, well, that's the obvious question, of course, but that's how we build it. That's the banner. That's why Origin's so successful. It's an us against them mentality. But now I'm the Australian coach. The us and them mentality is going to be us and New Zealand and us and the England side and other nations that play international rugby league. So I don't see any deterrent from that. I'll pick the best players, and that's whether that's Queensland or New South Wales players. I'm pretty sure he will. I'm unbiased. So I'm in an Australian position with a job to do. So I want to bring the Australian team back up to where it belongs at number one spot. And there's a lot of things we need to put in place. We need to inspire the players to put on the Kangaroos jersey. We need to build program where they want to play in it as well. So there's fair things we need to do to get them to a position where where they want to put on the Kangaroos jersey.
What can you do to Tim Sheens as a full-time coach?
I'm not a full-time coach. That's the thing. I'm a dedicated position. I do it on a part-time basis, and I've got other things to do in life as well.
Mal, did you feel you could have done both jobs to provide your
Oh no, I agree with the obviously the review process. I was part of that review process. I feel it should be a dedicated position. I don't think it should be a position that either an NRL coach or a state coach has, in tandem with it. So I just think it should be, a position that stands alone.
And what was the reaction of Queensland senior players?
Well, they're happy for me, I talked to Cameron yesterday about it all, and he's excited about the prospect of me being the national coach.
Who should coach the Maroons now?
Don't know. Again, that's a process. Obviously I'll have input in it, hopefully. But for me, the Queensland Rugby League and its board, they've got to make that decision over the next few weeks.
Given Walters has been viewed as a natural successor to you as the Maroons coach, what qualities would he bring to the role if he was to get it?
Well, he's a non-NRL coach. That's his first quality, and he's been in a lot of good systems: Broncos, Storm, Newcastle under Wayne. Coached himself over in the English Super League. Been my assistant coach for a number of years, so 6 years in all. So he understands the system really well, played really well. So obviously he'd be one of the candidates.
Are there any New South Wales players you've been looking forward to coaching where you think, oh wow, I'd like to have him under my team?
That's a good question. I think there's a lot of New South Wales players and Queensland players who can play for the national spot. So and that level. I think it's the interstate program. Should be a stepping stone into the national team. That's my personal view. So all players, in both sides, are going to be eligible to play for Australia.
Todd, was anyone else interviewed for the position?
Best person for the job sitting right next to me. It's a pretty simple decision. He's the most successful coach in Origin history. He's captained his club to 3 premierships. His record speaks for itself. So what he brings to us, both in a coaching role and ambassador role, puts the Kangaroos where they should be, which is the pinnacle of the sport. So we're absolutely delighted that he's seen this as the same opportunity.
How in your opinion can an NRL coach do an Origin team? I know it's been done before.
Again, I think it should be a dedicated position. But it's dependent on the candidates. There's a lot of good candidates, there. That's obviously a lot of Queensland coaches coaching club in clubland. So again, it's out of my hands now. It's a decision that the Queensland Rugby League has to make.
Now, given some of the stalwarts of the Kangaroos side, like Cameron, sort of one of your priorities?
No, I don't like succession planning at rep level, to be honest with you. My thoughts is the best player should be selected, and we're not obviously with a view to the future, but that's why we part of the role is to set up emerging programs and continually coach the Prime Minister's 13s as an example, to have a look at the next generation of Kangaroo players. So, but at the particular specific time, there's a test match in May against the Kiwis. The best team will be selected, regardless of age. Again, we haven't had those discussions yet, so it's something that needs to be addressed shortly. But it's dependent on the availability, of course, as well.
How did you feel that you'd done everything you needed to over that decade with the Maroons?
Very happy with what we achieved, over 10 years, and finished up on a fair high note, I would suggest. So, for me, like I said, I wanted the job. When Todd approached me, I was really excited about it all. We left it in the hands of Dennis and his team to come up with a amicable solution for it all, and I'm extremely happy that I'm here.
Now, what's been missing from the Australian team in recent times?
Don't know. I've yet to find that out. So maybe it's fatigue, maybe it's wear and tear. I don't know, but it's something that will be part of obviously the process going forward.
Has it hurt you watching the Kiwis win a couple of big titles?
No, I think it's great for the game. So it's obviously something that we can aspire to as the Kangaroos team, is to get back to the number one spot.
Well, you mentioned fatigue, obviously, player burnout's a major issue at the moment. Would you like to see that probably addressed?
I think it has been addressed behind the scenes. Obviously, the players have made some noise recently, but I think Todd and his team has handled it really well. So, we'll see what happens in the future.
So why didn't you go full-time? There's some talk that perhaps there's an ambassadorial role, it could have been a full-time position.
Yeah, we looked at all parts of these roles and others in the review, but it was clear that we wanted two things. We wanted the position to be dedicated. When I say dedicated, that means not aligned to a state or a club. So there's a genuine focus at the national level, not just for the Kangaroos, but for our junior Kangaroos. There's also the Jillaroos and all of our high-performance programs that go into a national role. So we saw that as fundamental. And then we looked at what scope of work that required, and it required a part-time commitment. And that's what we landed on, and that's the deal we've done with Mal.
And it enables me to do other things in life as well, so it's not just dedicated around rugby league. I've signed up recently with Sony and Parade Sports, so there's a lot of opportunity for me in other areas. So I don't want to be tied down to a full-time job.
Now, when you reflect on that period, coach, what sort of
I'm pretty happy about it all. I think the whole process was rewarding. Set some templates in place around systems and how we want to behave and how we want to play and the expectations of the Queensland team. Set some parameters around that, and it's been successful. So, from a personal point of view, be able to put that template in place and get the reward that and there's a lot of effort that goes into it. Get the reward is very satisfying. So, I'm thinking that it's part of the reason why I've been approached to take on the Australian job as well, is to get the players and put them in an environment where they can be successful.
Now, how important was that Origin ending for you? Would you have been reticent to take on the role if you didn't have that final series with?
Oh no, I think 10 years is a pretty good long time as well. But the Queensland Rugby League and I were talking about a future contract, and which we agreed to terms until the Australian position become available. So, which sort of turned that decision on its head a little bit. So, our last few months we've been musing between what to do, the challenges each side, the pros and the cons. At the end of the day, made a decision about what's best for me from an aspiring point of view and privileged point of view, and I think from a career point of view that this is the best decision for me.